This time on Junk Hunter Garage, we finally dig in to the 1923 GN Cycle Kart. Let's do it. This was supposed to be a winter project, but it's pretty much spring now, and here it is, not done yet. So it's time to get some hustle on because the season of cycle karting's already started. The most recent news in the cycle kart world is that someone already set the new fastest record time. Every year it goes up higher and higher. Now it's at, I think, 61 miles per hour, which is about 97 kilometers per hour. So I think we're shooting for this project to go over 100. By the time this is done, someone will probably have already gone over 100 for the what we call the Corona Speed Challenge in the cycle kart world, where we shoot all of our videos in, and then a nice gentleman puts those all together and collates all the times. But the project for this is we have a brand new Predator engine with all the goodies from Go Power Sports. We got connecting rods, we got carbs, we got everything to make it hold up to the speeds we need it to hold up to, so that we don't get another one of these, which is what your stock Predator connecting rod will turn into if you try and go over about 6,500 RPM. So first things first, we're going to hop into this. We're going to tear out the engine. I actually have a mini bike over here that's going to take that perfectly good engine, but it's all stock. Ended up getting thrown in during a mid-season blow up, so it's nothing special. So it's going to come out, live the rest of its life in a mini bike, and then we're going to build that new engine, slap that in there, and then we're going to see how fast she goes. So I'm going to take my Mr. Rogers sweater off and put on my mechanic sweater, and we're going to get to work. Got the engine all out of the way. I want to show you what the rear suspension on this looks like, because it's pretty tricky to get that real tight tail on here and not just cut a hole in the side of it to get the carb to work. That's always a tempting workaround. Takes a lot more work to get it under the body, but I think it really adds a lot to the car. So that's always my goal, is to keep everything under the original body lines. And if I can, get some suspension going too, which means I have to leave room for everything to move. So let me show you what it looks like under here and how the suspension works on this. All right, so this is the back end. You can see we got engine mounts up here, big Hemi joint up front. We got the, this actually was one elliptical spring that I cut down the middle, and that made it lightweight enough so I get a lot of flex out of it. One on each side. We got a sandwich plate up front here that holds that in place, bolt with a fastener, keeping it from sliding this way. Then you got your stabilizer supports here on either side. Those are Hemi joints on each end of that. And then this is kind of acting as a pan hard bar to keep it from drifting too much this way, but doesn't do too bad. I don't have to do a lot of adjusting in this. It doesn't, you would think this might shift around a lot, especially with a lot of sideways motion on a track, but it doesn't. And then we got the rear brake caliper here. You can see that's mounted up, and this is basically like a Z bracket here that the caliper bolts on here, reinforced there. Got lots of little reinforcements along the way that I added as I saw things kind of flexing. So brake caliper here. This is off a Yamaha, I want to say R1 rear of the bike. And then that goes up to the slave cylinder here. And you'll notice there's a T-block here that goes up to a switch, which is, where can you see it? Yeah, right there. There's a switch right here that makes it so that you can flip that, so you can either have the foot pedal up front or the hand lever back here. As you can see from the back here, lets you go like this and keeps the engine moving with this, and you don't have a whole lot of extra around it. You don't have any tail or anything. The tail is hung off the back of the bodywork here. If we peek down underneath here, you can see it actually also has rear shocks that run, let's see, can we get a good shot of that? There you go. Rear shock that bolts up underneath the seat there, that's kind of triangulated on those pink arms that used to be the back end of my daughter's pedal bike. Worked perfect, you know, good engineering there. But then that gives it a little dampening. That's a good look at it. Now I'm gonna get that engine all torn apart and put into here. Look at all the cool things I have in the shop though. I got this winter project. That's what took up most of my time. CT90 completely chopped and rearranged. We got the BMWs all finished up. Got the I don't even know what you call this. It's a chopped up Suzuki that used to be a moped and parts of leftover motorcycles. It's really fun. And then this is the mini bike donor that engine that came out of there is going to go on. So, and I think we're going to start with tearing that apart, the Predator engine apart, getting the governor out of there, putting the cam in, and getting the billet connecting rod in there so we can handle some higher RPMs. All right, so what do we have in front of me here is all the bits and pieces. So you're probably wondering, what does it take to make the fastest cycle kart in the world? Well, I can't tell you because I haven't done it yet. When I first did it, it was pretty easy. There wasn't a lot of competition. Now there's guys all over the world gunning for it. So it's going to be a little tougher, which means I got to put a little bit more effort into it. So to get that top speed, which right now we're going for, the target is anything over 100 kilometers per hour, which is roughly like 65, I think, will get me to where I want to be. I don't know how long that'll last as being the fastest. Someone will probably outdo it. But what we're going to do is I've already taken out the stock cam. Going to put in a very hot cam. Not the hottest, but because I don't want to have to worry about idle. I still need to be able to have it drive halfway normal, because the hotter the cam, you know, the more finicky it's going to be and harder to tune. So one step above medium, I would say this cam is. We're going to go with a flat top piston. You can see this is the stock piston. It's got a bit of a dish to it. This is the aftermarket one. It's going to have flat, which that's going to raise the compression, going to give you a bit more power. Next, probably the most crucial piece is the billet connecting rod, because the stock connecting rod, I have disintegrated about 5 of these, and that has so far been the first weak link of the chain. We'll see what the next thing to break is. Hypothetically, it would probably be the flywheel, which you can see on this is going to be the block I'm working with. I've already taken off and reused a ARC, right? ARC, which this does 2 things. It gives you a hotter spark because it has stronger magnets, and it gives you less rotating resistance or rotating mass. So that'll help just get up to RPMs faster. Obviously took off the governor and the low oil pressure switch. I like to use where the governor hole used to be. I just take and hone it out just a little bit, and then you can fit a regular 1/4-inch copper plumbing line in there. This is where your governor used to be. You have to drill this out a little bit for your that copper pipe to fit in there, but then you can flare that out a little bit, so when you fit a hose over there, you're good to go. And that gives you enough to connect a hose to, so that you can have an extra vent, which when you're running the higher RPMs, up over 6,000 RPMs, which is where this thing's going to hopefully be, a little bit of extra venting in the crankcase will help make it run better. So the other thing is we got the stock head is off. I could deck that on the mill here, but I'm not going to go that far. I think I can get away with just putting in, I'm going to go with 22-pound springs. You get up into 26, over 22, you're going to start wearing out your cam possibly. So I don't want to have to worry about that. We'll see if 22 is enough. Again, kind of a little bit of a trial and error here. But what I've done is taken a spare head I have and did a port and polish on it, hogged out the intake and the exhaust. I'll bring you in here so you can see that. So this is the stock exhaust port. This is the honed out exhaust port. It's a little frayed, but that's just the gasket. So you basically put your gasket onto your exhaust and see how big you can make it. And then you put it back onto your engine and then you hone it out to match. Sometimes this is called a gasket match style port job, but essentially then you know how big you can make this. And the other thing that's really key is inside of this, you want to smooth this ramp as much as possible, because from the factory, well, this one still has valves in it, but this will be basically, when they make this, they drill a hole in here, then they drill a hole in here, and then on that inside lip right here, right there, you end up with a real sharp edge. So by taking your Dremel tool, and that's all I used for any of this, and you just smooth out the transition in here, roll over this transition here, and as much as possible make that throat, you want to make that throat as even as possible all the way through, so that you don't get anything, the air too turbulent in there. And then back in the very back, you can see that's your build up around the valve body there. You can usually teardrop shape that a little bit and get around. Let's see if we get that. Get around in here with the Dremel tool, and that you can take a lot of material out of there. And again, that's just going to help that air smoothly transition down into there. And it's the same thing on the intake side. We look at the two intakes side by side. You can see it's mostly fattened out in the back here. You can see this is rounded and that's rounded out, and not so much, a little bit through here, but mostly here and here. And then you just carry that all the way down through there as much as you can. That's what I'm going to do. So flat top piston, billet connecting rod, port and polish on the head, stronger valve springs. Of course, I'm going to be running a Mikuni VM22 clone carb and a where's the exhaust pipe? A 3-stage exhaust, which is just one of the exhausts you can get from Go Power Sports that flares out at the end. I like those. I like the sound of them. I like the performance of them. And then I think that's about it. And that should be a good balance of speed and reliability. Mostly speed, less so reliability. But we'll see what it does. So I'm going to dig in now. Step done here. We got a bunch of stuff bolted in. We put the carburetor on. Let's see. We got carburetor on. We got the exhaust bolted up. We got all of our plumbing taken care of in here. I added that extra vent is coming up, going to the valve cover here. You see that a little better this way. We got the fuel line ran, throttle line, and that's just about everything. I think she's ready to start up and start doing our heat cycling. So if you aren't already doing this, maybe after your engine blows up, the next time you got to rebuild one like I did, make sure you're properly breaking these things in. It takes like 3 to 4 hours of runtime to really get it to stop shedding, the self-clearancing that these Harbor Freight engines like to do. So you don't want to go do a high-speed run or take it out to the track with an engine that's still being broken in, because that oil, instead of lubricating, will turn into sandpaper, and it will not do your engines any favors. We're just letting it run at idle. All right. Well, I just finished one heat cycle. I edited out the metal bit there, but I got it up to temp. Now we're going to let it cool back down. I thought I'd show you one more shot of the interior, some kind of cockpit looking World War II bomber style stuff. This is just edging for a tile, by the way. This works really good for trim on a cycle kart. It's rounded, and it's got the nice holes in there. Gives it some cool look. And then you might be wondering, where do I put the gas tank? This is a very small cart, and where would you fit it? I don't like using the mechanical pumps. I feel like it's just another thing that can fail, so I like to always do gravity feed. So fuel line goes from there, wraps around inside, and goes up to the nose of the cycle kart, where I got a big fat tank that does great on the longer tracks. So that's right under the nose cone here. And this is actually held on with a magnet. Kind of hard to do this with one hand, but you get the idea. Well, whatever. That goes on there all the way, and then we pop it off, and that magnet right there meets up with that, and it holds it in place along with that leather strap, which is not just fashion, that's function. And you can see more. We got a mix of steel and aluminum, but there's very little welding on this kart, actually. Most of this is riveted together. You can even see the main frame here that wraps all the way around. You can see this. This is 2 big bars of aluminum, which I didn't have a way to weld, and it was a leftover rack from work that I just ran some big old lugs through this. I got 4 going across the front, same thing, 4 going across the back. I guess I haven't showed you the front axle yet. So solid beam front axle. Got the leaf springs again connected to these towers, which again just bolted onto here. No welding. 1 leaf spring again cut in half, 1 on each side. You can see we heated that up, bolted it through, and this does great. Plenty of give to it. Haven't had any problems with too much deflection or anything. I get asked a lot what this is. It's not a bumper. This is actually a timing bar, which on the original car, it was required. So when you went over the finish line, that's what they would time it off of when it was going. So it has to be, pretty much that's the nose of the kart. Authenticity. And then again, we just got regular, nothing fancy for steering, just rod and pinion. None of the fancy lawnmower gearing style in the front. This works plenty good. You can see we got our anchorman angle, which is very important. Kingpin inclination. We got full suspension geometry in the front here, so do your homework, boys, because it's different on every kart. got to do your measurements. Other than that, everything on the front here, I'm bolt so I can get to anything I need. So I tried to make it as serviceable as possible. Again, this side panels on both sides come off, nose cone comes off. I can strip this thing down pretty much all the way and get it whatever I need to. All right, well, next thing for me is going to be to button this thing up all the way. Then we're going to take it to the secret test facility down in the valley in Kent here, and we're going to do a top speed run. That'll be on the next video, which will be coming out shortly, and that's going to also be my official submission for this Corona speed run. And with any luck, this thing will beat the current record. I think it can do it. Why don't you post down in the comments whether you think I can do it or not? And if you get some comments in, I'd love to see them before I actually do the run. Or you can congratulate me later, whatever you got time for. So I also wanted to mention that this kart's going to be the first cycle kart ever to be brought down to the One Moto Show, which is one of the biggest, I think, cycle builders showing on the West Coast, at least. I know that. It's going to be down in Portland, April 19th, 20th, and 21st, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's going to be mostly motorcycles. There's a car show where they have some cool cars, but they invited me to come down with the cycle kart and post up, just because the cycle kart kind of transcends both worlds since the original transcends both worlds since they originally were built with motorcycle engines in them. So if you're in the Portland area, come down to last weekend of April and check it out. Show your support, show your love, and say hi if you recognize the kart. So we'll see you guys there hopefully, and thanks for watching.